The system sucks. This job sucks. Those words came from a Department of Justice attorney speaking directly to a federal judge on the record. She followed it by saying, I am trying every breath that I have so that I can get you what you need. Admissions like that are almost unheard of in open court from a government lawyer. People in those roles are trained to manage risks, to be careful, and to protect the institution. So when someone speaks this plainly, it usually means careful language has stopped working. Most news coverage focused on how she spoke. Much less attention was paid to who she was or why she was standing there alone. Julie Lee was not a career prosecutor in that office. She was an ICE attorney, temporarily detailed to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota to help manage a surge of immigration habeas cases. Assignments like that are meant to be short-term, flexible, and easy to end. During the hearing, she told the judge, I was stupid enough to volunteer. This wasn't a joke or a complaint, it was a statement of fact. She also explained that she had already asked to leave, but stayed because there was no one else ready to take over the work. That matters. In less than a month, she was assigned close to 90 immigration habeas cases. Habeas cases aren't routine matters. They involve people alleging unlawful detention where delays have real consequences. And this is where the story turns. Because what matters most isn't the workload. It's what happens when a system under pressure asks an individual to quietly absorb the institution's failure. Judge Jerry Blackwell wasn't debating immigration policy. He was asking a simple, unavoidable question. Why weren't court orders being followed? At that moment, Julie Lee faced a dilemma many professionals will recognize. She could smooth it over, use careful language, suggest the problem was temporary or almost resolved, or she could be candid. She chose candor. She told the truth. She said, what do you want me to do? And then, fixing a broken system, I don't have a magic button to do it. She didn't deny the government's failures. She didn't minimize them. She described them. Then she said something personally honest, describing her limits. Sometimes I wish you would just hold me in contempt, Your Honor, so that I can have a full 24 hours of sleep. She was exhausted. She had hit her limits. The judge's response mattered. He didn't berate or scold her. He said, I appreciate your candor. He made it clear he wasn't interested in punishing individual attorneys for a system they didn't control. But institutions don't always respond the way courts do. When someone tells the truth this plainly, the system has a choice. It can fix the problem, or it can make the truth teller the problem. You can probably guess what the institution chose. Julie Lee was labeled unprofessional. That was easier than admitting the system couldn't do what it was demanding. Easier than explaining why court orders weren't being followed. Easier than confronting the limits of capacity. Ending a temporary detail is fast, administrative, clean. They remove the person who had just made the failure visible. This isn't unusual. It's how stressed systems protect themselves. They don't argue with the facts, they reassign the blame. There's a lesson here, and it isn't a cynical one. Julie Lee should be applauded for her courage, her conscientiousness, her service of duty. She stepped into an impossible role. She stayed longer than she had to. She tried to serve the law, serve the people affected, and answer honestly to the court. When the moment came, she didn't protect appearances, she protected her responsibility. That's not recklessness. That's professionalism in its truest form. When the system responded by labeling her unprofessional, that label said more about the system than it did about her. Because professionalism isn't silence. It isn't absorbing impossible conditions without comment. And it isn't shielding institutions from the consequences of their own failures. Professionalism is fidelity to role, especially when it's uncomfortable. She honored that. Judge Blackwell put it plainly. Volume is not a justification for diluting constitutional rights. Courts don't adjust legal standards based on workload. They look at outcomes. When systems demand results they can't lawfully deliver, individuals get squeezed. This story matters because it shows how easily responsibility can be pushed downward and how rare it is for someone to refuse to play along. Julie Lee didn't create these conditions. She described them. And inside any institution, the person who calmly explains what is actually happening is often treated as the problem, because that's easier than fixing the system itself. That's why this channel exists. The Guardian Network exists to protect and recognize people who do the right thing inside institutions, especially when it's difficult. If this kind of analysis is useful to you, this work continues here.